You have a price target of 260 for Boeing. You have a buy rating on it. At the same time, you say the near term is going to be challenging. What long-term thesis are you seeing in a company that still hasn't found its new CEO?
Yeah, I mean, you hit on well, first of all, thanks for having me on the program. Yeah, you hit on a lot of the obviously the points of uncertainty that we're currently sort of weighing through. Our buy rating is really a function of where the demand equation sits right now. And if you look at where backlog is, we actually expect to hit a all-time high in the first quarter of 24. And so while we're currently dealing with what we've deemed to be sort of temporary production challenges, the demand equation with airlines is very strong. Boeing continues to have a market dominant position on wide bodies, and we think there's an opportunity, for them to start gaining more share in narrow bodies over time. So our view has been, you have to look past this quarter, the next quarter, probably the couple after that. But the further you go out into time, production numbers start to improve. The backlog for this company is well north of $500 billion, and so there's a lot of potential monetization.
Bert, that's quite the narrative. So you're saying let's just discount the next fiscal year pretty much and look beyond that. So I do want to ask you, when it comes to the stock price at least, do you think Boeing has pretty much bottomed? And if they do actually acquire Spirit AeroSystems, is that going to ring as a positive to investors or a negative?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now we're sort of in this process of watching numbers bottom. See, if you were to look at the estimates on free cash flow, they've come down pretty significantly in the last 6 weeks. I think there's potentially some more to come after the first quarter earnings, but then you're probably getting to a position where, expectations are more realistic. And then there becomes potential for those to, for them to outperform. The Spirit acquisition comes up a lot. I mean, the reality of it is relative to Boeing's size, it's not tremendous. Right now the complexity is trying to figure out what to do with the Airbus assets and the Airbus facilities, and that's leading to a delay in that process.
Yeah, by the way, when you say trying to figure out what to do with Airbus, it's trying to figure out how to separate the Airbus business from Spirit AeroSystems. They try to purchase it. So, you're the aerospace expert, but I just walk me through this. We're talking about Boeing, a company with some serious production issues, looking to buy another company with serious production issues, and then separate from one of its largest customers. That's a positive for the stock, possibly, in your mind? Is there a way that can be positive?
Yeah, I mean, I think the better way to look at this potential acquisition of Spirit is Boeing needs to get its arms around its supply chain, and its largest supplier is Spirit AeroSystems, and there's been a variety of quality issues there in recent years. And so by bringing that in-house and by essentially consolidating its supply chain, I think that would demonstrate to the FAA that Boeing is taking an actionable step toward improving the supply chain. And so that's the way we're looking at the deal. Now, the Airbus portion of it obviously introduces a lot of complexity.
All right, quite a bit of complexity there. Something else that seems to be a bit complex is the CEO succession. Dave Calhoun already announced he's stepping down. What do you see happening next? How does this all play out? And this is a very big and integral company to not have clear leadership or a clear succession plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did have a clear succession plan. It just changed, right? I mean, Stephanie Pope was put into essentially the COO role and was indicated to be the next CEO. That, I think is changing in favor of an external hire, which makes sense. And I think investors, favor. The way we're looking at it is that's probably the big catalyst we're watching. And so once you get the CEO announcement, I think things can really start to come into fold. They've said by year end, we imagine it'll be faster than that. I think the investor favorite right now is Larry Culp. But there's some questions around whether he'd leave GE and be interested in the role. So some uncertainty there. And until that clears, that's sort of part of our rationale on why we think it'll be choppy.
If it does end up being an internal candidate, does that change your price target, your thesis, your rating? Does that change your views on this company?
Yeah, if it's an internal candidate, I think you'll have a more difficult rhetoric for sure, because I think the idea is you need to think about sort of the process toward a fresh start and a fresh look at the supply chain and the production challenges they faced.